So where is the industry with that technology?
From the latest news I've heard, there is a few different, even in Japan, this has gone all the way to Japan, there's companies. The best drug only produces 1% of dystrophin. 1%, which is not enough to stabilize.
To get that skip?
The skip is what creates the 1% increase in dystrophin in the boys' bodies, right? But is it enough? It's only 1%. So it depends on who you talk to, because the pharmaceutical industry is very political. Depending on who you talk to, they say, this is it, which is great, but they're outright saying it's not necessarily the cure. So we still have to fight and try and find this cure.
So after knocking on the doors of these other foundations and being turned away, saying, no, we don't need help, what, your wife is sitting there relying on you to lead the way.
Right.
Right. The door's been shut. So how do you go about creating your own plan?
I looked at her and I said, I can't do nothing for my son. We have to do something. I need your support. I have to take on this fight because I was going stir crazy. And she says, if that's what you think you need to do, then you got to do it.
So you're still working in construction at the time?
I was, yes. I was doing that, but my head wasn't in it.
Oh, yeah.
I was on job sites and I'm researching and I'm researching and I'm researching. And I started just talking to everybody I knew. And I wanted to raise money, awareness through something. And I said, we're going to start Jar of Hope. Jar of Hope was born, but it wasn't yet as a registered 501c3. So I'm going around talking to healthcare individuals. I started a push-up campaign to try and raise awareness. I'm going to different gyms, talking just to anybody because nobody knew of this disease. People thought I was nuts. And so I was able enough and fortunate enough to come across the hyperbaric chamber, which is a therapy nowadays they use for people with cancer, post-radiation.
Yeah.
As well as elite athletes. They use these devices. They're very expensive. They're a minimum of $26,000, so they're not cheap. But these athletes are using them to increase their rate of recovery on their muscle tissue. So I started thinking, everybody in the pharmaceutical world is looking for the cure. Nobody's looking for early intervention.
Yeah.
To try and save the muscle tissue that these kids do have.
And that's what the patient journey looks like from diagnosis to end of life?
Well, statistically, you get diagnosed between 4 and 6. By age 9, typically you're in a wheelchair. By 15, you're a quadriplegic. By 17, when you're supposed to be learning how to drive a car, you don't have the muscular strength to lift your diaphragm, so you need to look for an ancillary breathing device. And then statistically, it's in your early 20s when your heart gives out. But I can tell you just 6 months ago, we must have lost half a dozen children between the ages of 9 and 15 due to cardiac arrest. So what does that tell you about these statistics?
Right, yeah. Yeah. So Jar of Hope, tell me about the name.
Thank you. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of all these individuals that have come to my son's aid. Jar of Hope was born when I created the name. I wanted to have my son's name in it, but at the same time, I was thinking there are other families going through this. There are other children. It needs to be ambiguous, but I need to hold the core as to my why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So the Jar in Jar of Hope stands for James Anthony Raffone, and his acronym is just wonderful. So we've developed this saying, help fill out a jar of hope.
Sure. Yeah. So getting back to you're going to make a big life change. You're going to come home one day because you said you're still doing construction. Your head's not in the game. You're researching. You're talking. Every waking moment has got to be, I've got to save my son. Jamesy is, there's not only my family, but other families, other parents, other diagnosed children are relying on this, right? And you come home and you tell your wife that you're going to make a big change. And what was that?
My wife, God bless her, she didn't know how to take it. She thought initially I was crazy. She thought, how are we going to put food on our table? She said, you do have 2 daughters that need to eat. That was.
So the news was you're going to leave. You're going to get out of the construction business.
I told her. I came home one day and I said, I just can't do this. I said, I cannot leave this house knowing my son is dying and worry about what shades of colors I'm putting in the ground for concrete or on the walls for people. I can't do this anymore. And I said, I need to leave, and I need to spend every waking minute I have to try to save my son and find a cure for this disease.
Now, how old is Jamesy at this point?
He was 4.
He's 4. So he still has no real
Before
understanding. I mean, he's,
No.
4 is very young.
Even to this day. So over time, what we've done, and it wasn't an easy conversation even with my daughters. So as he's been getting older, because immediately we changed his diet, immediately we brought a hyperbaric chamber into the home. So just imagine getting a 4-year-old into this crazy device. That wasn't easy. But as he started to get older and he started asking me why, my answer to him was, well, you're coming in with daddy. This is what we do. You know, in the back of my head, I want to go out and I want to play t-ball with my son. I want to teach him how to swing a bat. I want to throw a football with him. But I can't. And so I needed him to understand we need some alone time. And this is what you're going to come and spend time with daddy because daddy needs to do this for his muscles. So I've started ingraining into my son that we need to do things to keep our bodies healthy. And especially with the eating, with the vegetables and everything. And it worked well when kids are young and you can control them.
Yeah. They get a little older and a little smarter. And
yes.
Yeah. You're having to figure out the workarounds.
Absolutely.
So today he is how old?
My son is 9 today.
Jamesy's 9.
Yes.
And so how is he doing today?
God bless. The disease is trying to do what it wants to do, right? His body's not producing muscle tissue at the rate in which an adolescent should. He's clearly underneath the growth chart, if you recall those, but he's walking. He can walk up and down stairs. He's not, his gait is not like a normal 9-year-old. He's got no spring to run up a flight of stairs, but he's walking. His cognitive skills are amazing, and he's just a joy. He's just an amazing little boy.
So how often is he in the chamber?
Well, he sleeps in his what we call a rocket ship
every
other night for about 7 to 8 hours a night. And lately, I have introduced another modality for him. So the hyperbaric chamber, the concept behind that is to increase oxygen in his body.
The chamber is hyperbaric chamber.
Yep. So I've brought into now what is known as the Beamer unit, which is a unit that I use in conjunction to that to increase blood flow to the extremities and to the capillaries and things of that nature. And my hope is that in conjunction, the two of them working in unison, if we can increase the oxygen, we increase his blood flow, his muscle tissues on a cellular level will be healthier to potentially, if they don't break down every 8 to 24 hours, maybe it's 48 hours, maybe it's 72 hours. So at the end of the disease, the disease state, he's still walking until he's 13, 14 years old.
So what health institution recommended all this for you?
None. This is all out of my desperate attempt to keep my son walking until a cure can be found.
So what is the health community saying about this?
They think I'm crazy. They think that there's really no modality that will help a child with this disease.
And obviously, I mean, you're seeing benefit. I mean, you can look back and you can talk to parents who've lost their child from this disease. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of map the old patient journey and you can kind of compare what you're doing and the results that you're beginning to achieve and see. I mean, are you publicizing this? Are you talking to people about saying, look at what's happening, and are they looking at the data or looking at a log that you might be keeping and acknowledging, yes, there's some benefit, or are they saying it's your wishful thinking here that's
right? I was going public to answer that. I was extremely public because I wanted, and I'm not getting anything in return, right? I just want people to know there's a therapy that potentially could work. From what I'm finding out, my son's oxidative rate is better. His ejection fractions are better, which means that's the part of the heart that pumps out oxygenated blood is better. And this is the doctors on, he goes to a doctor twice a year because there's nothing they can do for him. So they monitor his digression, right? So the doctors are telling me, wow, this is good. Wow, he's running 3 seconds faster than other child his age. So I would go home and I'm on Facebook. I'm on every social media platform.
Yeah.
I'm making videos and I'm begging people to just open up your minds. There may be something to this.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ridiculed left, right, and center by the community. And I don't understand.
And what are they saying?
They're saying that I'm crazy, that doesn't work, that you're looking for things, it's snake oil. At the end of the day, what am I looking for?
Right.
I don't have any deals with any hyperbaric chamber companies where they're like, Jim, listen, you get $5,000 for every chamber you sell.
Right.
No, I'm saying legitimately, look at what they're telling me, the doctors. Look at my son at this age. Look at what he can do. I would record him and show how he can run.
Right.
And people just like, no, it's not working. You're crazy. Okay, but I'm crazy. I'll just keep it to myself and to my son. And it wasn't until maybe a year or 18 months later, I got a call from the mother. It was a bittersweet call but the mom called and said, I should have listened to you. My son is 6 months older than your son, and my son's already losing the ability to walk. He needs a chair part-time, and he's only 8.
So when you let me take a step back. You said she said she should have listened to you,
Right.
implying that she reached out in a previous conversation to inquire about this, or what?
Yes. When I tell you, when I first came public with this, there was an influx of calls from desperate parents, and people wanted to understand. And this, my degree is not in science, especially molecular biology. That's not it. But I can explain to you my hypothesis. This is what I believe is happening.
Right.
Right. And nobody wanted to take stock in that. And when she called me and she said, I should have listened because I see James, he's still going strong. And my son is now in a chair part-time. It broke my heart because maybe I could have said something different. Maybe I wish, now the foundation's going, I wish the foundation was solvent enough. I would buy everybody a hyperbaric chamber. I would. Anybody that wants one, I would buy it for them. But we're not in that situation, right?
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking.
So tell me about the foundation. So Jar of Hope. You guys over there are doing some interesting events to raise money. Tell me about some of the things that you've done to raise money and some of the things that you guys have on the drawing board, because I find them quite interesting.
Well, when I set out with this foundation, I didn't want to be like everybody else. I don't want to. Looking back, I said, the cure's not found yet, so you got to do something different. I didn't know about Duchenne. That means they're not doing something to get the word out. Right? It's not bad. It's not wrong. I just need to do it differently. Right? So my first thing was I was 263 pounds and I had no right, but I threw my hat in the ring and I was on Facebook and I begged and pleaded and I said, somebody has got to get me into the New York City Marathon. If I can run the New York City Marathon, I can raise awareness. Now, with it, unbeknownst to everybody whom I was begging and pleading to get into the race, my goal was to die during running the New York City Marathon. That was my goal. I'm 263 pounds. I have no right running this marathon. They get me in.
So you think halfway through you're going to have a coronary event? That's going to be it?
Right hand to God. So the problem with me is I have a heart condition that I don't really talk about, and I shouldn't be doing half the things I do. But it is what it is, and I believe this was.
It's oversized. I know that.
Thank you. So I get into the New York City Marathon and they say there's a catch. In order for you to get in, you need to raise funds. So I said, okay, tell me, how much do I got to raise? You got to raise $3,500. Okay. What do? I go to Facebook. I get on social media. Put my son on my back. I explain the disease to people. People, nobody, the text. We don't know anything about this disease. And I'm just talking. I do 10 push-ups and I ask for $10. And I tell people, if you donate, I will do 10 push-ups for you. I was fortunate enough that we raised about $37,000 in a very.
It's a lot of push-ups.
They did $900 were raised one day because people wanted to see how many push-ups I can actually do. So it was great and it was awesome and it was done with a lot of love and I would do it all over again. And so no matter where I was, whether I was in a car, in a supermarket, at work, or wherever I was, I would drop and do 10 push-ups and thank that person. And so I ran the New York City Marathon in 2014 was the first time I ever run it.
You getting any other looks like you're crazy when you drop in the supermarket and do 10 push-ups? Was there something going on?
I was, but it worked out well because people who were standing next to me, they would laugh, and then I would get up, and it gave me that opportunity to talk as to why I'm doing
Absolutely.
push-ups.
Building awareness, right? That's the goal.
That was it.
Yeah.
So
it was starting to work.
It started. So from there, we had our gala, and then I started running Spartan races. And I would run all over the mountains. I don't know if you're familiar with a Spartan race, but it's a mud run. There's obstacles in between, so you can do anywhere.
Look at me, Jim. Do I look like I'm familiar with a Spartan run? Come on.
You should come out. So it's a phenomenal event that carries thousands of people up at Mount Vernon. Thousands of people come out for these events. And for me, I'm thinking, I can't talk one-offs. I don't have a platform like you have. So I need to go to places where there's thousands of people at a time and talk. This was in my soul. It's coming out of my skin. So every time now to start a race, there's a wave, they call it, and there's hundreds, 300 to 400 people at a clip start. So what do? I go to the announcer. I go, I need to talk. Give me the mic. And I get in between these 400 people and I start telling my son's story. And I'm bawling, I'm crying, and I'm begging people, please do 10 push-ups for me, for my son, and for other children who are sick with Duchenne. Before you know it, this went viral. It didn't go as I expected. I was hoping for bigger and better, but it was amazing, the response that I had.
Yeah.
And so we ran race after race after race, and I was this guy in lime green, and everybody got to know me, and I became this push-up guy. And then I took the science from the dystrophin gene, and I was begging people in the health and fitness arena, because this is a muscle-wasting disease. They're all about promoting health and fitness. Please help me get the word out. And the gyms, they've got audiences, right? Anywhere from 20 to 50 to 70 people in a gym at one time. So I would walk into gyms, I'd set up these seminars where I would gather everybody in the middle of their workout, beg them to come listen to me. I got to tell my son's story about this deadly disease. Please do 10 push-ups with me. And before you know it, we raised enough money to finish funding a hyperbaric chamber study. It was at the University of Minnesota in a very short period of time. And then from there, I saw this synergy that was working.
So wait a minute, you glossed over. So you raised enough money to do what?
The hyperbaric chamber study at the University of Minnesota.
So we're taking it out of the bedroom.
Yes.
Right. And the handwritten log you're keeping, and we're now doing a study.
Right. Because everybody's telling me I'm crazy. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I started looking inward and going, my God, am I wasting my son's life spending inside this chamber when he could be out doing something? So I had a conversation with myself. I said, if you're going to do this, you got to do it. See what we're doing for the benefits of your son and for other children. So we went to the University of Minnesota. And believe it or not, I got ridiculed for that. Because now, this was my thinking, maybe I'm crazy, but I said, if I'm going to do an animal study, what better doctor to get than a guy that knows animals, a veterinarian. So the University of Minnesota is a very well-respected university. Mm. If he's working there, he's got to have the credentials to do this.
Sure.
So we got a chamber, we simulated the same study that we would do, the same protocol that we were doing with my son with 3 different colonies of mice. And I gave it to this doctor to study, this professor, to study what was going on. And we had some now we knew going in this was not a cure. We knew going in, we were looking to see, does it slow down the progression of the disease? That was my goal.
Yeah.
And some phenomenal things came out of that is now leading us to a phase 2 with Duke University. People still think I'm crazy. I got ridiculed because of the professor I chose to do the study.
The professor at Duke?
At the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah, if they discredit this professor now, then I know the world has really gone crazy. Yeah, they can't do that. Not with this professor's credentials.
So what are we going to try? What's the hypothesis for phase 2?
So my hypothesis for phase 2 is what goes on inside the body after 22 days of repeated hyperbaric therapy. Well, I can't give away too much right now because, but things grow inside your body when being induced to oxygen, because oxygen is the only element in the world you really cannot live without.
Right.
And it creates water as well. And your body is made of 70% water. So there are things that go on inside your body that do not occur at atmospheric pressure. And we're going to study this just a little bit further. And I'm so excited to do it.
I'm excited to see what comes out of it. I think, Jim, I think you're onto something. Back to the foundation and some of the events. So you run the marathon, you're doing the Spartan races, you've got a big race coming up soon, right? Tell me about that.
So I'm about to run a race called the Alps to Ocean. And this race came to be because right after I ran the New York City Marathon and I ran a few races, the Spartan races, I had 265 people in audience at my gala. And this crazy guy comes into it that I had never met before. He starts walking around my gala and then stands in the middle of the floor while I'm at the mic talking. And I thought my friends were going to attack this guy and toss him beat, throw him out. But he got an opportunity to interrupt and ask me. He challenged me to run a race that's known as the Grand to Grand. I had never heard of this race before. But he had been watching on Facebook and had friends that knew of me and knew what I was trying to do. And this man was a genius because he introduced to me this global event that's 171 miles in the desert over 7 days. So right there.
That's a genius?
Well, no.
I'm trying to connect the dot there. But.
Yeah. Well, the genius behind what he did was he introduced me to this global event. So right now, in his mind, he must have been thinking, Jim, you're doing a wonderful job for your son. This is great, but you're doing it on a very small scale. You're only in Monmouth County. You're going into Staten Island because that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
People in those two areas know you, but what you're doing needs to be on a global scale.
Yeah.
So he challenged me to run this race I had no idea ever existed. I thought the New York City Marathon was the longest race that there ever was. Who knew that there's called these ultra marathons out there? So he introduces me to this Grand to Grand. I run the race, and unfortunately, I almost had a heart attack. Got pulled off the course, and then this year in September, I went back for the third time. I completed it. It was just beautiful. And then the race organizer of the Alps to Ocean ran the 2016 G2G with me. He's in New Zealand. So this is how and why I run these races, because I've met people from all over the world. Right now, we've got people in Germany, Australia, Canada. I've been to Hawaii to talk about Duchenne because of this one particular race. And this Alps to Ocean race is 200 miles over 7 days. And it's just an amazing event that I can't wait to be a part of.
So will we be able to follow you along your journey from the Alps to Ocean? Will there be Facebook or Twitter, or how do we track your progress through the journey here?
I believe the race organizers will post for us along the journey. We as participants, we don't have cell service, we don't have phones. It's meant for you to be off the grid to focus on what the task at hand is, because you're running 200 miles over 7 days. That's not easy. And not to mention the third day is 86 miles of it.
So, but you're not only running, but aren't you carrying your gear with you, your sleeping gear, all your essentials other than water?
True. It's a self-supported race, so you carry everything that you need for 7 days to survive. The only thing they provide you with is water and shelter.
All right. So, well, I do hope they're posting, because I for one, want to follow you through the journey. So the Jar of Hope, you mentioned a gala. Is there an annual gala? Is that what you have?
There is. This year it's October 5th. It's already scheduled.
October 5th. And where's the gala going to be on October 5th?
I Play America in Freehold, New Jersey.
Freehold, New Jersey. And so, Jim, if people want to reach out to you, we're going to, put this on Healthy h360, obviously.
Thank you.
All the other social media platforms, so people can better understand Duchenne, understand what you're doing, understanding the success that you've had in your phase 1 trial, understanding what's coming up and what your hypothesis looks like in phase 2, all in the spirit of, because as you said, there's no cure, but if we can extend the life, if we can enhance the life of these children as they're going through the journey, there's a lot to be said for that. And I think, quite frankly, I think you'd agree, we have to find a cure. At the end of the day, we have to find a cure.
Yes.
Right? That's the goal. But between today and finding that cure, we've got to do things to help these children have a better life.
Right.
In some way, shape, or form make them feel like a normal child. Let them experience things that other
kids.
children their age are experiencing, and
Yes.
and help families along the way.
I can't imagine the caregivers in the homes, which are usually the families, what they go through who has a child who's a few years older than my son. There's a video on my homepage on jarofhope.org. People can go and watch, and what I call my son's future. If I don't get out in front of this disease and stop this, that other poor family that's in that video, my heart breaks every day. As much as I do for my son, I do for that family and their son, to see if there's something that, some kind of respite, something that can be done for them.
Yeah, 100%. Now, how are your two daughters getting involved in the Jar of Hope?
It's been a challenge for my daughters. We actually had to sit them down and talk to them about what was going on. So my daughters want to do a little bit of fundraising here and there. My one daughter's trying to develop a product to be able to sell, to raise money to donate to the foundation. My other daughter just started. She wants to have a Valentine's Day ball because she's in high school, and so she wants to get the community, her high school community kids involved, which is just wonderful. So, and of course I support both of their efforts.
Yeah, I was watching this movie the other night about this family, and you may have seen it, it was on TV. There was a daughter and a son, and the son had a deformity, several surgeries, plastic surgeries, but he didn't look like a normal boy. And a lot of the story focused on, the family was so focused on the son that the daughter felt left behind.
Sure.
And, so I'm glad to see that your daughters are getting involved and getting involved in the fundraising and the charity and Jar of Hope. That's really a good thing.
Yeah, my wife and I were very cognizant of that because my efforts and energies are really focused on my son. I didn't want my daughters to get lost, so I started coaching their softball league and their teams and things to be involved with them as well.
That's absolutely wonderful. If you were to look in the eyes of a parent or a family who has just been given those words, hopefully not over the phone,
Right.
that your child is diagnosed with Duchenne, go home, love that child, and prepare for the end.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to that family today?
To call me. I will help you through this. That potentially there's hope. There's hope, and that together we can find a cure. If we come together, we can work on this and find something that can help them early intervention-wise to keep them walking longer. I'm convinced we're going to find a cure. I'm convinced of it. If I have to manifest it myself, we're going to make this happen. I cannot lose my son to this disease, and I don't want another parent who's coming up behind me to feel for 1 second what my wife and I felt for the longest time, which is alone, which is desperate, which is just heartbreaking. I don't want anybody to ever feel like that again. Anybody. And it doesn't matter the disease state. I've committed. People have asked me, what's going to happen when you cure your son? What's going to happen when you lose your son? Well, if I cure this disease, I'm going after another disease. I can tell you that. If I lose my son, it's only going to make me want to fight harder. I will never leave these families alone, fighting alone.
Jim, I'm a supporter. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you.